Welcome everybody. We're here with the two Republican candidates for Baker County Sheriff.
Well, I'm James David Carpenter. I'm running for Sheriff of Baker County. I love this county. I think that's one thing that me and him have in common, is that we both love this county. I've been with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office now for 31 years. That Sheriff's Office, being large like it is, has given me the experience, the exposure, and the training, and especially the exposure to bring anything to Baker County and handle anything that Baker County has to offer. What I would like to do is be prepared for any instance that comes to this county. And I believe that training and exposure has given me that, where I can bring that. Everywhere I've been, one of my successes, I've been able to build a team that's been absolutely amazing. I know that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I've been very successful at picking the people that are the smartest people in the room. I appreciate your vote. I've enjoyed sitting in your living rooms and talking to every one of you and listening to your concerns for this county. And like I say, I'm James David Carpenter, and I'm very happy to be here with the sheriff today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carpenter. Sheriff?
All right, yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you to the press, Joel and Jessica, for having us here today. First thing I'd like to say is I have been born and raised here in Baker County. I've been married to my lovely wife, Tara, for 25 years. I have 3 children, Emily, Catherine, and Rhett, that I'm very proud of. And I have begun my career in law enforcement about 32 years ago. I started at UCI, which is Union Correctional Institution. Went and got my certification in corrections. Then I came over and did a law enforcement certification. I got hired in Baker County in 1992. I worked in the corrections division there. I then moved up to the patrol area. Once in patrol, I worked there for several years. I moved up to patrol sergeant, got promoted, enjoyed my time there. And then I went to be a narcotics detective, which was my passion. I really fell in love with that. And but I knew if I wanted to extend my career and go further and do things differently in Baker County, I would have to move out of something that I had passion for. So I got promoted to lieutenant over patrol, overseeing 2 shifts. I did that for several years. 2016, I made a decision to run for sheriff. We were successful in that bid. I've been your sheriff for the past 7.5 years, and I look forward to continuing to be your sheriff. And I asked for your vote on August the 20th so I could continue, because I do love Baker County. I love helping people. I love being here for people. And I want to continue this career path that I'm on, and that is being your sheriff. And thank you.
You're seeking another 4 years in office. What would be your top priorities for the first 2 of those 4 years?
First 2 of those 4 years, well, I would love to continue what we've been doing at the Sheriff's Office. I think we've been successful the past 8 years. 2 things that, specific 2 things, would be working on the growth that's coming to our community. We are experiencing more growth. We're going to experience more growth over time, and preparing ourselves for that. That's going to be working with our county commissioners, our city commissioners, because with growth comes more crime. But to defeat crime, we have to have more officers, which takes money and technological stuff that comes with law enforcement. There are some things that we're doing right now with our license plate readers, our body worn cameras, things. Those are an expense, but we are being able to endure those. And but there's things that we need to focus on as we grow, and growth is coming. We all know that, and we want to be prepared for it, and I think we will be.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Carpenter, first 2 years in office, top priorities.
Speaking of growth, as you all know, we're bordered by Jacksonville and we're bordered by Columbia County. So that crime is coming here. The job that I'm in now, I listen to these drug dealers and I listen to these suspects all the time talk about Baker County being a target-rich environment. So what I'd like to do is be prepared, and you're going to hear that mantra with me for everything. Be absolutely prepared for anything that comes to this county. And that includes soliciting funding that has not been solicited here, like SAFE funding. With a 15-minute email, I was able to bring $250,000 to my unit, which has helped tremendously. I can also tell you there needs to be forensic technologies and stuff brought here, or at least solicited where we use them in other counties. Like, just for an example, just next door in Jacksonville, we have an agency. We have a unit that does. So what they do is for manslaughter and also for murder, when it comes to these fentanyl overdoses, we have a unit that we've put in place that is absolutely amazing. So we have combined detectives from homicide, and we've also combined detectives from narcotics. And they work together, and we've been charging these people with manslaughter and murder for these fentanyl overdoses. I think we had 37 fentanyl overdoses here. And I don't think that any of them has been sought to make it to where these drug dealers realize, hey, if we come to this county, this is what we're going to be facing. I can tell you that in Jacksonville, I hear them on the phones. They're like, hey, man, we need to quit selling this poison on the streets here because they're actually putting us in jail for manslaughter and murder. So those kind of programs in the first 2 years, I would like to bring here. Also, I would like to fix the jail issue. And listen, I know the jail is a mess, but my opinion is if you've had that mess for 8 years and it's not fixed, that's a problem. I think you should be able to fix that. And I would like to fix that issue within the first 2 years, is that jail issue.
Very much, Mr. Carpenter.
Well, I also listen to phone calls that we do because I have extra narcotics people in there that do undercover buys, and we do buy drugs from people in Jacksonville and Duval County that will not cross the Baker County line to come sell narcotics in our community because they know if they do, they're going to go to jail, and they're going to go to jail for a long time. But they do invite us to go over there to purchase narcotics, and not to say that anything bad about Jacksonville Sheriff's Office at all, but we are fighting the crime on drugs very, very strongly, and I'm proud of what we've done there. And also with the comment about the jail, there's some other remarks I'll make during this, but fixing the jail in 2 years, that tells me he has no clue of what goes on down in the jail right now.
Yes, sir. How do you intend to improve employee recruitment and retention to ensure you have the best officers available on which to spend taxpayer dollars?
I'm going to give them the training that they necessary where they can have a good job. I'm going to improve their morale. The greatest force multiplier in law enforcement, I can tell you from having several people work for me, is having a happy workplace. If they have a happy workplace, they will do everything and anything for you to prove. I think that leadership is exactly that. You have to be leadership. You have to put policies and procedures in place. For example, I believe that for me to be accountable to all of you and all the community, that we need to be accredited. In 2017, he got rid of accreditation when it was already obtained. I don't understand why that was done. That shows you that we're using every practice, everything that's great, LAPD, Houston PD, Atlanta PD, is showing all of you that we're using the best practices in place and showing you that I'm trying to be or am being accountable to y'all. And like I say, if those guys will emulate that leadership, and I believe if they have the training and the preparation necessary and the morale that builds it, I believe we have the detectives here, the deputies here, I believe do a fantastic job. But I think they need to emulate their leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Well, I believe that our morale is very high. It's probably the highest I've seen in since I've been at the Sheriff's Office for 32 years. How do we retention people? We give them the salaries that they deserve. We started off at $32,500 when I became sheriff in 2017. We're up that salary up to $45,000. People come to work to get a paycheck to support their families. What we were seeing was people were coming, they were getting trained, and they were moving to other agencies, making better salaries. So we feel like we are competitive with outside agencies, and we're retaining more people. To go back to Mr. Carpenter's thing on the accreditation in 2017, I did get away from accreditation, and let me tell you why I did that. Because in 2017, I inherited a budget deficit of over $300,000 when I took office. They had about $100,000 payout on people that left. We also had a shocking surprise when we got there that 6 vehicles were purchased unbudgeted, which was about $170,000. So we did get away from accreditation because of the cost it was. But that doesn't mean we got away from the policies and procedures that were in place. We continue those policies and procedures, and we continue to do a good job. But there were tough decisions that had to be made. Also, in the accreditation process, hiring someone takes a longer time. Well, when we took office in 2017, I wasn't able to come in the building until midnight on January 30th. So we had to prepare ourselves to get people hired to come in, to be ready, to go out and protect our community. Getting away from accreditation was make me able to hire people immediately and get them to go to work. But what else is understandable is this: there is a cost to that, and we are a physically constrained county. There's 26 of us, and we are part of that. We have been working on accreditation before elections came up over a year and a half now. So we are in the process of being accredited through the Florida Sheriff's Association. And the reason we're able to do that is because there is going to be funding for physically constrained counties, which is us. I think spending our tax dollars on more important things like protecting people, being out there in our community, hiring more officers, giving officers the pay that they deserve was more important than accreditation when I come in and took office. So that's why we got away from accreditation.
Thank you, Sheriff.
So these antagonists that come for lawsuits and also lawsuits, I can tell you that when you're not accredited, what that happens is these lawyers that know that you're not accredited and these antagonists that come and try to try law enforcement, they giggle because they know that it can add zeros to the end of those lawsuits. So I just want to say accreditation is more than just that. And accreditation costs $0. Like he said, he's a fiscally constrained county. Just like he didn't seek out SAFE money, which is readily there, he actually gets priority on that. Me with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, we do not get priority, but I was able to, like I said, get $280,000 for the use of that. Think of what that could have done for this county. $280,000 for our small, fiscally constrained county.
You've said in the past, and I just want to acknowledge that it's not the sheriff's responsibility to fund county jails in Florida. It's the county commission's responsibility to fund county jails in Florida. But how would you recommend to the county commission that they eliminate $1 million, not eliminate $1 million, but make up the $1 million and roughly how much money they're short annually every year? I should say in recent years. If the county jail had about $1 million more every year, it could balance its budget.
Right. So it is the responsibility of the county commissioners to pay for their inmates. That's no question. That's in statute, and I stand by that. But what happens is this: when I came here in 2017, the jail was at a deficit of $1.3 million in medical cost. They were behind in. They were behind $700,000 in food cost. There was $150,000 in staff dining food that was going out for $150,000. The county, from 2009 to 2016, roughly spent $10 million out of their reserves to fund the facility out there. And then come to find out, we, taxpayers, paid $26 million in interest only out there from 2009 to 2016. $26 million, take that into effect. That comes from county people, county tax dollars. So what we have done is this: we have caught up with all those bills. We are paying our bills on time. We are paying the payment, which is not interest only, but we're paying the principal down. And that's what the boards of BCCMC and the county commissioners have to do. What I do is I present them with a budget, two budgets, one for law enforcement, one for corrections. And the budget I present to them for corrections is for care, custody, and control. We do an operational and we do personnel services. Personnel services have went up. That has happened. But the county has been paying 2.8 for 7 years. 2.8, $2,800,000 for 7 years with no increase over a 7-year period. That, I think, is where the downfall has come from, because we did not keep up with inflation and cost as it came for over the 7 years. How the county fixes that, I'm going to present them a budget, what I think is necessary to run the facility, care, custody, and control of the inmates, do the best job we can down there. And that is a issue between the board, both board members, how the financials come. But I will help in any way possible, I can assure you that.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I know that in April, I think they pulled about $100,000, and then in May they pulled $200,000 to leave $1.8 million in reserves. I mean, that just can't keep happening. I'm gonna go back to what I said, and I know he don't agree with it. But if you've had 8 years and you haven't fixed a problem, I think that's telling to the community. I promise you that I will fix it in more than 8 years. That is absolutely insane to me that it can't be fixed. Now, I know that it might take some tough decisions, and you might have to solicit some minds that's, a little bit above us. I know, and that's what I've actually done. So if I do win this election, I have people that want to contribute and help to eliminate this problem. I do know it's an issue. I understand what he's saying about the cost of medical care and everything else. But from everything that I've heard, that jail is an absolute mess. And I think that needs to be fixed before anything. And like I say, 8 years of a problem and not being fixed, I think is incredible. And we cannot keep pulling $100,000, $200,000 out and killing to where we have no reserves for this thing. And then what you also can't do is, I would like to see a day where the sheriff is responsible for the budget like in every other county. I think that it should be a budget line item. I should say here to the county commissioners, this is exactly what we need. And also, I know there's things that come up. I hear horror stories about HVAC and the roof. That should never be an issue. That should be budgeted out 5 years. We do that where I work now. Every head of office has a 5-year plan, and we know where nothing comes as a surprise. All right, we got to fix the roofs here. We got to fix HVAC here. So that's the kind of systems that I would put in place where there's no surprises as to what's going on. And like I said, and I'll keep saying it, 8 years to fix a problem is plenty of time.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter.
I'd like to respond to rebuttal to that, please.
1 minute for rebuttal, Sheriff.
So the problem with the HVAC and the roof, that has been addressed since the day one I took office there. But that comes from the board, which is the BCCMC. They were aware of those problems, and I agree with Mr. Carpenter. There should be a 5-year plan. We were putting that 5-year plan together. But what I did do is I did say that we have to fix the roof immediately because it's becoming a concern in there, and I cannot hold off anymore and feel good about leaving people in there with leaking roofs. So we did have to come out of reserves to pay for the roof, and I stand behind that. So there are things, there is plans in place. This jail is in better shape now than it was in 2017 when I took office. I can assure you, we're not behind on our bills. We're paying our bills, and we are paying the debt service down. Now, I want to work with both boards, the BCCMC and the county commissioners, to find ways of revenues to bring more in, and we are doing that currently.
What new technology would you like to see the sheriff's office employ to increase officer safety on the road or in the jail, not in use today, to again increase safety for your officers?
But I'd like them to be trained. I hear it from deputies now that they don't feel like they've got enough training. And you're talking about, so the question was technologies and stuff.
Yeah,
well, for instance, like I was talking about with the overdose squad. So let me explain to you how overdose squad work. I touched on it a little bit before. I think I got kind of mixed up in explaining it. But like I said, it's homicide detectives and it's also narcotics detectives. And what they do is they get together and say, we have an overdose. So they all respond. They grab that phone. The undercover starts talking to the suspect, gets them to where they make a buy. And then FDLE and HIDA and FDLE, they assist us with everything that we need to do for that evidence. And what they do is they put into place and where they buy that, test that drugs, and then they charge these people for murder and manslaughter. But to download that phone and everything, that kind of equipment needs to come here. I know that that's a resource, and when I talk about resources like that, everybody gets scared with money. But there's, like I say, there's funding like crazy. That's been one of my talents in Jacksonville, is to get that kind of funding, safe funding, HIDA funding, to where we can implement these things in place. I can tell you another technology that is absolutely amazing and impressed me, and when it first came to my attention, I was actually making fun of it, is drones. I know that we've had some incidents with shootings and stuff with the SWAT team here. These drones are absolutely amazing. They put a hole into the residence. They fly these drones in there. It maps out everything. It tells them where the suspects are. They can communicate. Absolutely amazing technology that I didn't think could be as good as it is, but actually seeing it in place makes it so safe for these SWAT team members and stuff. And there's all the forensic technologies is advancing every single day, and we need to stay on top of that. And I know that resources are a concern, especially I know that when I've had some talks with the county commissioners, they've been like, JD, you keep bringing up all this technology, but we've got to be prepared for anything that can come to this county. And I know there's been talk about me making this a JSO. I promise you that can be no further from the truth. I love this small town. Okay, so.
Well, what we have done is we have implemented things like body-worn cameras. We implemented them in our jail also, but you don't see that often. But we thought that was a necessary tool that we need to get in there to make sure our officers are safe when they're communicating with detainees, ICE detainees, the immigrations, the allegations that were made against them. So we wanted to protect them. So we put body-worn cameras on them. We do have cameras, fixed cameras in the facility, but it's not audio. So what do? We went a step further. We put the body-worn cameras on the detention officers inside, so we can get the audio and all the interactions to make sure that we keep our officers safe and the detainees safe also. We also did that. Go ahead.
Any new technology?
We would like to see, we have drones, those technologies that we do have those things. Mr. Carpenter mentioned the drones. We want to be able to put other technologies in place. We have the LPR readers that we're here to help solve crime. We also want to be able to get out there and give the officers all the training that they do. They're required to do so many hours of training a year. We get that, we meet those requirements, and we do extra. So where this is coming from, where we're not getting the proper training, this is my first time hearing that. So, but we are implementing new things, technology, because that's the way law enforcement is going. And there's not a time that I can't call the sheriff up that has the resources that we need, like Mr. Carpenter's talking about. I could call Jacksonville, I could call any sheriff in the state of Florida, and they would send every resource we need. In a rural county, it's hard to get these resources like he's talking about. And it does cost taxpayer money. And it's a budget issue.
Thanks, Sheriff.
If I can have just 1 minute. And that's
1 minute, we're going.
And this is nothing that gets, I think this is a great guy. However, I have never seen him one time at a HIDA meeting. I've never seen him one time at JSO. And I can tell you that the reputation that Baker County has is subpar. And I hate that because I live here. I'm not saying it's the deputies here. I'm saying it's the leadership. We have a subpar reputation. And perception, folks, is reality. And that I want to eliminate that bad reputation.
Thank you.
We have an officer that's in the HIDA program that is there also, that I get information from on a daily basis. So just because I don't participate, I don't know how many sheriffs are participating, but I've been to those HIDA meetings before. I've been in the building. I used to work there when I worked narcotics for 7 years. I worked over there, went over there, made cases in Jacksonville. And that's not so.
Well, I can tell you I've been an initiative commander for 7 years and I've never.
In your view, what is the role of the sheriff in the community beyond being the chief law enforcement officer and corrections officer in the county?
I think the role of sheriff here is to be prepared to help anybody in any situation, whether it be a criminal situation, a personal situation. I've been with people at the most tragic points in their life. I've been there to help them do whatever they need to comfort them through their tragic. I've been with people at the happiest times of their life. I think being there for people, not only in criminal elements, but in personal elements too. We need to be there as the sheriff. And that's what I have done for the 7.5 years as sheriff. But I also done that through my patrol as a patrol officer, a sergeant, a lieutenant. I was there for families, not only in the law enforcement aspect, but in personal matters also. And I want to continue to do that. I think that's important as a sheriff. You need to take that role to be the leader of the community, not only in criminal things that are happening in your life, but in personal things, whether it be tragic or whether it be good. And that's what I've been doing for the past 7 years.
I think it's somebody that can be accountable to the citizens, for them to know that I'm going to do everything in my power to do the right thing by them in every situation, that I'm going to be prepared for anything in this county, and that I'm going to be a shoulder to cry on and lean on or whatever they need, even in their personal needs. But I'll tell you one thing that I won't do is I won't delegate that to somebody else. Everywhere that I've gone in this community, I hear all the time that Sheriff Rhoden, he is a great guy. However, he does not run the sheriff's office. It is Randy Cruz that runs the sheriff's office. I will not delegate that authority if I'm given the support to be your sheriff.
Well, I want to make sure that you understand this, that I am here to run the sheriff's office. I run the sheriff's office. I make every tough decision that's there. I'm in the community on a day-to-day basis. People see me every day. I'm out there for people to respond to me, to come to me. My door is always open. Yes, do I put people in charge and let them do their jobs without me interfering or micromanaging people? Absolutely I don't, because I put people in place that I trust. Randy is in a undersheriff position. I've got captains over patrol and captains over investigations, and I allow them to do their jobs. But when the tough decisions have to be made, those are not made by anybody except for me. And that's what the job of the sheriff should be doing, making the tough decisions. And that's what I've been doing for 7.5 years, regardless of what anybody says.
Thank you, Sheriff. What more could be done or should be done to reduce drug and alcohol addiction in Baker County?
I think we need to have some prevention programs. I actually consulted with the Department of Health, and the number one concern in this county, unrelated to anything that any sheriff's office puts in, is substance abuse. And I think the number two was substance abuse and mental health when it was related to the youth. When I go and talk to these people in their homes, the one thing that resounds with everybody is that the youth in this community have absolutely nothing to do, and it scares them. And I can tell you that same Department of Health tells me that gateway drug usage for our youth and the people that are in the schools are like 6% higher than what the national average for Florida is. That's a problem. So we need to get together. We need to have, what I want to do as sheriff is I want to have, we call it in Jacksonville Sheriff's Advisory Councils. I don't like that name, so I'd call it something else here. And also I've talked to several business owners here, and they're saying, listen, if you put some programs in effect, like a PAL or something for our youth, I will fund this to where it won't come any dollars from the community, which I think is amazing. So that preventative avenue, I think, needs to be done. Also, yes, arresting users is a good thing. If you take all the customers away from Walmart, obviously they're not going to be in business. But that doesn't work all the time. Every time we do a major case, this is I-10 corridor, when we have couriers and vehicles, I mean, there's several $100,000 in drugs that we know that come through Baker County. I know there's no interdiction process right now. I'd like to solicit some of that. These drug trafficking organizations that are bringing this poison into Baker County, I would like to target them more. That is my forte. That's what we do. I know that when we listen to them, and yes, some of the drug trafficking organizations we arrest are in Jacksonville that are supplying here, but those come from California, they come from Texas and everything else. I think that we need to target those kind of people, because when we do that, and I arrest a whole drug trafficking organization instead of users, we actually see a difference and hear a difference in the community.
Thank you, Mr.
I agree on the interdiction. I think that's something that we are wanting to do, but there again, it's funding, and those are things that we're looking into. But what Mr. Carpenter is talking about, all the drugs on I-10 coming from California and Texas, the money's going to California and Texas, but where's the drugs going to? Back to Duval County. That's the majority of where they're going to. So I don't know what his plan is to stop him from bringing it to there, but he hasn't done a good job of that yet. So, but what I think what we should be doing is this. We cannot arrest our way out of drug use. So what we have done here and implemented at the sheriff's office is this. We have partnered with the Hope Center. We are partnered with Teen Challenge. We are partnered with Baker County Prevention Coalition to get the people that are users, addicted people, the help that they need. We have hired mental health counselors that's in the jail. We have hired pastoral people that come into the jail on Sundays and Wednesdays to speak to these people. They have every opportunity and every tool that they need to help themselves beat addiction. But they're not going to beat addiction unless they want to. They can go in there and say, hey, I want to do this to try to get out of jail. And that happens. But we are seeing a difference with addiction in Baker County of the resources we have right here that we've been using. The Hope Center, prime example. I go there and see people. It is amazing to see the people's lives that are turned around. And he is right on one thing. If we can stop the people that are using drugs, you will eliminate some drug dealers, because they'll have to get out there and sell their product, and we will be able to arrest them and put them in prison where they need to be. So we are implementing things over the past 7.5 years, and we are seeing a difference, and it is working.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Just one little rebuttal on that. How many addicts have you seen do the right thing and not go back? That doesn't happen. So arresting the users is not going to work.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
I would ask Mr. Carpenter to go to the Hope Center and view those people that are down there that are addicts, that's been arrested and have turned their life around right here in Baker County, because that's happening.
Behind drug and alcohol addiction in Baker County, probably the next biggest issue in terms of law enforcement is domestic violence and just violence in the home in general. So, Mr. Carpenter, what more should be done to combat domestic violence in Baker County?
like I said, I talked about the Department of Health before. I think that was very unfortunate. I think the state of Florida has seen like an 18% decrease in domestic violence from, I believe it was 2008 to 2017. I think Baker County showed a 111% increase in domestic violence. Resources to these victims. And victims of domestic violence ain't just women anymore, it's men. So we need to employ strategies and come up with solutions. Like I said before, I would like to get a committee that actually is that's their forte, HOPE programs, like he was saying, to where they can get the help that they need for domestic violence.
Sure.
Yes, domestic violence is an issue, but a lot of domestic violence comes from alcohol use or drug use. That's where a majority of crime comes from. I think Mr. Carpenter would agree with that.
Yep.
That if you trace back the crime somewhere down the line, that it comes from alcohol abuse or drug abuse somewhere. So having programs to help people, we do have a victims advocate here that works with them. I think counseling does good. We have a counselor on hand now that not just for our staff or our inmates, we let them go out to the public. If we see someone that needs it, we will give them the opportunity. We can't make them take that counseling, but the opportunity is there for them. And I think having that counselor, having opportunities to talk with those people to see what we can do to help them to prevent domestic violence, we want to do that at all costs.
Who have been your political role models and why? And it doesn't have to be local. It could be national, state, local. Who do you look up to in terms of political
role models? That's a great question.
I'm glad you're first.
Thinking back, just going back to people that I know in the political realm and political world, I would probably say who sticks out the most to me is John Barton. He was one that if John had an opponent, he was the same if he didn't have an opponent. And looking up to him, the way he carried himself in the office and the way he carried himself when he didn't have an opponent, that speaks volumes to me. And also he gave a pound cake on the back of his card every time, and it was a good pound cake. So he was one that really sticks out to me the most. But there's also another one that I looked highly up to and just respected him the most, and I'm a little partial to him. That would be Judge D.L. Griffiths. He was my uncle, but he was a good man. He was a good politician. He was a good judge. But most of all, he was just an all-around good man that I looked up to. And those are two that really sticks out to me the most if I had to say somebody.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Carpenter, who do you look up to politically, or have you looked up to politically?
I'm going to age myself, but Jim McMillan, he was my very first sheriff. I know that when I first came on and got sworn in, he was the one that swore me in. I had several conversations with him. I think he was an amazing guy. He was, like I say, a sheriff 31 years ago, so that does age me quite a bit. But I can tell you, going through this political process, I was very naive to it. He told me that I would learn a lot, so he was 100% correct. But I can tell you that another one that I got to just bring up is Trump, because he just continually takes it and takes it and takes it. And I can tell you from this county, I've learned a lot about myself that I had no clue about. So that's been kind of amazing. But I can say that I have a whole new appreciation, I guess you would say, for politics. What Trump has gone through and continued to fight for this country, I think is amazing. So I would say, yeah, Jim McMillan and Trump.
Why else should voters fill in the circle next to your name? Besides everything that y'all have talked about today,
What
from a
else?
personal standpoint, why should somebody color in that little circle when they vote?
And who went first last time?
Well, let Mr. Carpenter go first.
Because I'm going to show you transparency like you've never seen before. I'm going to show you accountability, and I'm going to bring professionalism. I'm going to tell you my training and exposure that I've had at the sheriff's office has given me a myriad of things. Natural disasters. I've been responsible and in charge of everything that you can absolutely imagine when it comes to law enforcement incidents. I can tell you the job that I have now. I take down drug trafficking organizations, and I work with an amazing group of people. I can tell you that one of my talents, like I said before, is absolutely picking the right people for the job. And I promise you that everybody on my staff, they will be accountable to me. And everybody under them will be accountable to them. I want to make this county the most prepared that it can be. Like I said before, I don't want to make this a small JSO, but what I want to bring here is the absolute best technologies and the best agency that is second to none in this nation, to where if anything comes here, we can nip it in the bud, we can take care of it, and we can go right back to our small town feel.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Sheriff, you get the last word.
I think over the past 7.5 years being the sheriff here, I made promises in 2016, and I've kept those promises. I promised people I would keep our schools safe, our neighborhoods safe. I promised we would go actively against drug dealers, help addicts with their situation that they're in. We have done all those things. We have completed all those things. I've kept those promises. And I want to just continue to be the sheriff here to help people in their time of need, not in criminal times, but in personal times also. And I've done that, and I've accomplished that. We have a great sheriff's office here. We have great people that work here. I'm proud of every officer at the sheriff's office, corrections officer, from the administration on down. I'm proud of everything that we have done there. And I think the people of Baker County are proud of the job we do. And I hope on August the 20th that they continue to have that confidence in us. Transparency is another thing that I ran on. We are open and transparent with everything we do at the sheriff's office. There's nothing that nobody can come in that office and ask to see or ask to get that we won't provide them. That is from the Board of County Commissioners to the City Commissioners. We are open and transparent with everything we do, and we will continue to do those jobs and continue to do that. But I ask for your vote on August the 20th for me to continue to be your sheriff and continue to help Baker County be a safe place for your family to live.
Thank you for joining us today.